Good morning, Group 2. This is your Tuesday, the 26th of January Spag session. We're going to be working on 2 learning challenges here. Can you use a comma after a subordinate clause? And can you make improvements to grammar and vocabulary? Right, let's see what subordinate conjunctions we can spot. Down at the bottom we've got our I saw a wabob reminder for the most common subordinating conjunctions. As night fell in the African kingdom of Benin, a thoughtful young girl named Idia was sleeping. Although she was sleeping peacefully, in her dream a brave woman was fighting in a terrible battle. So, has anyone seen a wabob? Can you spot the wabob? If you can, shout wabob. I saw a wabob. Okay, write them down on a piece of paper or wait for me to spot them along with you. So we've got as night fell, and although she was sleeping peacefully. So now we've got one of those subordinate conjunctions in our subordinate clause, and then we've got a main clause. Now you will know from your sentence work that with a subordinate clause you can either have it at the beginning or at the end of a sentence. So let's try it each way round and see which we like best. Let's try the main clause first. Arrows zipped through the air at her from all directions, although they missed. And now let's try it with a subordinate clause first. Although they missed, arrows zipped through the air at her from all directions. Now it's up to you to decide which one you prefer. You are the writer. Which sentence do you want your reader to read? I think for me I preferred the subordinate clause first. Although they missed, arrows zipped through the air at her from all directions. I feel that builds up the tension quite well. Yes, they missed, but they were still dangerously close to her. But you might have an equally good reason for choosing to have the main clause first. What about this one? She thought about the strange dream as she dressed hurriedly. So we had the main clause first, followed by the subordinate clause. But what about the other way round? As she dressed hurriedly, she thought about the strange dream. So which do you prefer first? Main clause first or subordinate clause first? She thought about the strange dream as she dressed hurriedly. As she dressed hurriedly, she thought about the strange dream. I think I prefer the subordinate clause first again, personally. I think that's the part of the sentence that our reader can picture in their mind. She's dressing hurriedly, but she's still thinking about that dream. You might have a different reason for having them the other way around. Now, here we can have a go at improving some grammar and vocabulary. This is called a noun phrase pyramid, and it helps us to build up from a simple noun right the way up to a full sentence. So the top one I've already done. Let's look at that together. At the top of the pyramid it says the trail. So trail is our noun. We've got the trail. And then in my second layer of that pyramid in red we've got our adjectives. The wide dusty trail. And then in the third part of our pyramid we're telling our reader where that trail is. We're giving them a preposition, through. The wide dusty trail through the jungle. So now our reader knows what it is, how it's described and where it is. And then in our next part of our pyramid it finally becomes a sentence because it now has a verb in it. We know what our people are doing. They're walking in this wide dusty trail. Idia and her friend walked along the wide dusty trail through the jungle. So you can see how we improved our vocabulary and our grammar as we made our way through that sentence. What about this next one then? We're starting with our noun, village. The village. Now, if you want to have a go at this without me, you can pause the video or you can listen to my thoughts of what I would do to improve that phrase. So let's describe the village. I think I'm going to go for the bustling, busy village. I want my reader to know there's lots of people there. It's bustling, it's busy. The bustling, busy village. On the next row, I'm going to tell my reader where that village is. The bustling, busy village in the heart of the jungle. So now they know how it's described and they know where it is. The bustling, busy village at the heart of the jungle. Well, what about what's happening there? We could have Idia and her friend again. Idia and Adesua headed to the busy, bustling village in the heart of the jungle. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? So we've built that up from just the village, we've described it, we've said where it is, and we've said what's happening there. Somebody is heading towards it. So your basic skill task on Seesaw today is either a task to choose the order of the main clause and the subordinate clause, like we did at the beginning of this session. So you will have a list of main clauses and subordinate clauses. I've already matched them up so they go really well together. You don't have to mix and match them, but you have to decide which you're going to write first. Now remember, whichever one you write first is the one that has to begin with a capital letter. And if you start with the subordinate clause, you've got to remember to put a comma after it. If the subordinate clause comes at the beginning of the sentence, that clause needs a comma after it. Or some of you have got our pyramids to improve those sentences. Just like we've looked at today, the one you will have on Seesaw will have a starting word, a starting noun, and then it will ask you to build up that pyramid to make improvements. Now, you don't need to print out the pyramids, you don't need to draw pyramids in your book. You can just write the words on. If you try and draw a pyramid, you'll find yourself squeezing your words in too small. So just write the words, but show how they build up. Okay, have fun.